Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Friday, September 23rd, 2022. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr., and I'm joined by Carli Velocci, formerly of Windows Central. Carli, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Now, I need to pause for 1 second because I can hear an echo. I hear myself talking. I found it in YouTube. I had the stream open in YouTube
Oh,
just now for a second, so I had to close it real quick. Carli, thank you so much for joining me here. Of course, you were formerly of Windows Central. Can I ask, first of all, what did you do for Windows Central?
so this gets a little complicated, so I'll try to keep it basic. So I was the gaming lead at Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore. And then I was also the copy chief across those three sites as well. So two jobs
Oh, wow.
basically.
So what did a day look like for you then?
It sort of depended on how many things needed editing, but generally speaking, I would figure out the content strategy for the gaming team, which is across those 3 sites. And then I would also, edit stuff on the day to day. I managed a whole team of editors and answered a lot of questions about how things should be written. And it was, yeah, just a lot of things basically. It changed from day to day, from week to week, depending on, if it was, a slow period in games or the upcoming October nightmare.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, then, could you recap for us a little bit, like what the last week or so has been like? Because of course, this week on KFGD, we've been having tons of guests on, both from Fanbyte, and then we've also had someone on from Android Central as well, right? Talking about the layoffs, the wave of layoffs that have happened recently.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting and fascinating, like hearing all the different perspectives in terms of, yeah, dude, like I was just chilling out, and all of a sudden I started looking on Twitter, and my coworkers were piecing out one by one, right? Like for you,
Yeah.
what was that like at Windows Central?
I mean, thankfully, it wasn't as bad as it was at Fanbyte. But it was, you get the email in your inbox with, your boss's boss's boss and an HR person, and that really only means one thing. And I worked very closely with Jen, who you had on earlier this week.
Mhm.
So I was able to commiserate with her along with the other people that got laid off. They basically cut the copy team, which I was the head of, and then because I was head of the gaming team, I don't know, I also got cut there. And then Jen got cut, and it was just really sad. Mostly came out of
Mhm.
nowhere, but at the very least, it was handled better than fan bites was handled. That
Yeah.
was a nightmare. So
Where did your industry journey start? Was Windows Central like early on in the journey for you in terms of like when you started getting into games media, or does it span even further back than that?
yeah, so I started in games media in like 2012, doing like freelance work for like Paste Magazine and a few other places. Like when Kill Screen was still a thing, I wrote for Kill Screen, um, just doing a lot of freelance stuff. Working here was like my first like full time working in games kind of job because there aren't that many of those, which is so it's
Mhm.
unsurprising that this was my first. And I was here for 4 years until last week. It's been a week and a half, right? I don't know what time is anymore. But
It's a flat circle.
yeah, exactly. But I started in I didn't my plan was not to write about games. I wanted to be a film critic. But I don't know, it felt like I was in Boston at the time, and at the time Boston was having this really great video game moment because Irrational was still open, and Fallout 4 came out, like, not too long after I started, I
Mhm.
think, like, 2015. So I wanted to cover that for some local papers, and then it just sort of grew from there, and
Gotcha.
now I'm here.
So then, do you have a plan currently? Like, is in this moment, like, do you want to do more stuff in games? Are you like, well, maybe now's my time to get into film critique? Like, do you know what the next step is for you yet?
I have absolutely no idea. I had
Yep,
sort of been
should be ready
thinking
to rock and
about
roll. I mean, open it up and
Kev, you're unmuted.
my bad. I'm sorry.
You're good.
It's okay, I just thought I did something wrong. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I have no idea, but I'm open to writing about entertainment as well as video games, but I feel like covering video games is really important right now.
Mhm.
So, I'm gonna try to stick it out. We'll see if that actually ends up happening considering how few jobs there are, but if you are hiring, I am available.
Of course. And if people are hiring, where can people reach out to you?
My DMs are open on Twitter. I'm at Velociraptor, which is just spelled like Velociraptor with an extra C in it.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
thank you. And then I am, you can email me at veloci.c@gmail.com, and I'm on LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn. So
Gotcha. Now, usually before we get into the show, I love to ask our guests a fun question, which is what is their favorite game of all time? But instead of doing that, I'm gonna ask a different question, Carly.
oh,
One that comes from patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Jake O writes in and says, "Hey KFGD, I have a topic that I'm sure has been discussed here and there before, but it has come up again on social media recently, and I would like to ask your opinions on it. Yesterday, Barstool Game Time uploaded their list of the top 10 most influential games of all time, and it reads like this, right? The list goes Mario Brothers at number one, Super Mario Brothers. At number two, Tetris. At number three, Fortnite. At number four, Counter Strike. At number five, GTA 3. At number six, Metal Gear Solid. Number seven, Ocarina of Time. At number eight, World of Warcraft. At number nine, Tecmo Super Bowl. And at number 10, Space Invaders. How do we feel about this list? I believe Halo should be on there over Counter-Strike since I believe it did more for the FPS genre. I also believe Street Fighter should be up there as well, and maybe even Batman Arkham Asylum. That one's a bit of a stretch, I know, but it sort of did for superhero video games what Spider-Man and Iron Man did for superhero movies. What are your thoughts? Thank you for everything. And I think this is fascinating because I was expecting a top 10 list that I was gonna absolutely hate. Whenever you say like, oh yeah, this outlet that isn't necessarily known for games is putting out a top 10 list of most influential, I'm like, all right, let's see what bullshit is on this list. I'm actually surprised by how much of this list. I'm like, I'm not mad at it, Carly.
yeah.
Like, what's your take here?
It's a pretty good list, honestly. If you're talking about influential games, it's not necessarily like the best games. It's the games that started something. So
Hmm.
I think in general, like most of these fall under that category. I understand Jake thinking that Street Fighter should be in here because there is no fighting game on this list, but it's also only 10 games. So I'm sure if you expanded it to 15 or 20, there'd be a fighting game on here. But in general, like all these games hit a certain different genre, different sort of gameplay mechanic or style that hadn't been done before or hadn't been done to this level before. So I think it's actually a pretty good list, all things considered. It hits a lot of different uh
Yeah.
sectors.
And even for ones that would come to mind in terms of, I would go this game instead of this game. Like Mario 64 comes to mind. Like I think Mario 64 is easily one of the most influential games of all time, right? And a lot of that is for what that game did in terms of their transition from 2D to 3D.
Yeah.
They do have Zelda Ocarina of Time on here, which I think gets a lot of that done as well, right? So I feel like Ocarina kind of covers for Mario 64 not being here, and then also Super Mario Brothers being here, right? I think they kind of hit both on there. And then I would jump to something like even The Last of Us, right? In terms of
Mm.
the I think the step forward that game had in terms of a cinematic presentation in an action game, right? Especially when you talk about what PlayStation games turned into after The Last of Us coming through, right? Because of The Last of Us, I think we got the God of War 2018 that we did. I think we
Yeah.
get a lot of those PlayStation first party things that we do. That said, they got Metal Gear Solid on here, which I think is another example of, well, Metal Gear Solid, way before even Last of Us, did so much in that same way for the
Mhm.
cinematic approach in terms of narrative, in terms of character building, in terms of a lot of that stuff in video games. And yeah, working down the list, Tetris 100% should be on there. Fortnite, I think that's a fascinating one that I agree with. Fortnite should be on here when we're talking
Absolutely.
about battle pass systems. We were talking about how big that was for the battle royale genre. Of course, PUBG came first, but I think Fortnite really came through and
It like
revolutionized
perfected battle royales.
1000%. And yeah, the list goes on. Counter Strike is one where I probably would go GoldenEye or Halo over Counter Strike. I'm not mad at Counter Strike being on here though, and then of course GTA 3, like it's got to be on here. I'm not mad at this list, right? I think the ones that I I glance at a little bit would be Tecmo and Space Invaders, but again, Space Invaders being an early video game that was very popular, that was very successful, right? Like I get it being on here, and Tecmo. I mean, look at sports games now, right? Like I think Tecmo is an early example of
Thing.
sports sim being done right, right? And like, do we get Madden the way we get Madden, along with all the other sports games the way we get them without Tecmo? I don't know, right? I think Tecmo is a very good early example of that.
Yeah, it's like everything in this list is sort of like, well, without this game, there wouldn't be blank. So which is like sort of what you were getting at, just like going through the list. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
Last of Us is a phenomenal game in terms of tech, but you wouldn't have that without Metal Gear Solid. Um,
100%.
or like Space Invaders is like the the weird one, I think, but like you wouldn't have like arcades as they are without Space Invaders. Or
Mm.
and like you said, like Tecmo, that was the one I also like did a double take on. But yeah, like in terms of sports sims, like you wouldn't have all those games without Tecmo. But I don't play sports sims, so that's why I was like, what? But in general, yeah, like I think like if you expanded this to 20, you would get stuff like Halo, you would get
For
stuff
sure. Like
like
even
Mario
Doom.
64,
Yeah,
things like
somebody in
that.
chat
So,
mentioned Doom, and I'm like, yeah, Doom's another great one.
oh,
Or
Doom, yeah,
Wolfenstein, like those are great games.
absolutely.
But yeah, like I think this kind of spans the broad, like what are some of the big shifts that happen in video games? And I think you're getting a good smattering here. And yeah, I think if you increase it to 20, then you start to get the Street Fighters of the world and even more in there.
Yeah, but of course it like snowballs from there. So I understand them trying to limit it to 10 because once you hit 20, you're like, well, we couldn't add this one. We got to expand it to 30 and then 50. And then you got like I think Polygon had a list that was like the top 100 games of the last decade or something, or
I love
most
those lists
influential
so
games.
much.
Yeah, so like what you get those 100 game lists, and then you get more of like, well, I don't agree with this one. I don't agree with this one.
Yeah,
So I appreciate them limiting it to 10. But yeah, I think it's a really solid list overall. It's really amusing how this comes from Barstool, which like you said is not really known for video game coverage, but I know video games and sports tend to intersect a lot. So
for
I was
sure.
just amused by that tidbit.
Carly, enough about the most influential games of all time. Let's talk about video game news stories which include a hacker being arrested in the UK. I'll tell you later how that relates to video games. Shuhei speaks on indies and more because this is Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, rearsteeth.com, or you can listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kind of Funny Games Daily. Remember, you can use Epic Creator Code Kind of Funny on all Epic Store and Epic in-game purchases like Rocket League and Fortnite to help support the channel. To be a part of the show, to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, or bronze members or above get to write in, and silver members or above get the show ad-free with the exclusive daily post show. Housekeeping for you. Snowbike Mike stripped down to his boxers in 2 public parking lots this week, and Greg was shocked. Hear the whole story on Kind of Funny Podcast today. Of course, that's up on youtube.com/kindoffunny and on podcast
Man's
services
a
around the
psychopath.
globe.
Can you
The
tell?
longer I know Mike, and the more I get to learn about him, the more I'm like, this man is a cartoon character.
He
This
is a
full
cartoon.
on
Can you believe
animation.
he made it out last night?
No, I can't. Because,
Wild.
like, because Mike just disappears, or he just doesn't do things, or he does crazy things, right? So like when you pick to catch audience up, right? Like me, Kev, and Joey went out for pho last night, and Kev hit me up just randomly. He was like, "Yo, we going to pho? You want in?" And I'm like, "Yeah, who's all going?" And you mentioned it was Joey and Mike, and I was like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." And you picked me up, and Mike wasn't there, and I'm like, "This does not surprise me. This is the most Mike thing that ever happened."
I updated you like 30 seconds after you were like, "I'm in." I was like, Mike just backed out. Mike just backed out.
And why
Yeah.
did he back out? Because he started a game of Valorant. Snowbike and Michael.
And let's for a moment, let's add the cartoon factor of he's never had noodles, according to Mike. He's like, I've never had noodles before. I don't know if I want to go to a noodle place.
And he almost backed out because he was nervous to have noodles, is what it sounded like. Because you were on the phone with him at the restaurant, and you're like, "Oh, they got sandwiches.
They got a
I'm
chicken
like,
sandwich.
They got a
I
and I'm
have so
like,
many
is this man
questions.
afraid of eating noodles? Is that is this what's happening right now?"
He's never
I
had
love
it before.
Snowbike Mike.
I'm so lost.
But like, how have you?
We just got an employee here that's just a wild character.
No,
that's never had
it's
a
more-
noodle.
I'm more confused on the noodle part. That's very
I
confusing
mean,
to
I
me.
am too. He has
Apparently-
had spaghetti, but like, I think it's like maybe
like ramen style noodles.
He's never
Okay.
had. Yeah,
That's a
He's
little different.
also never had shrimp. I got shrimp rolls last night, and he was looking at it like it was crazy.
He's like, I've never had one of those things. I'm never gonna have it. They're
And I
so
was
good.
like, Mike, we can change
They're
this
so
right now,
good.
man.
Yeah.
Shrimp is fantastic. We can give you shrimp right now. He was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." Man.
I'll
I'm
put
good.
in
I
a
don't need shrimp."
delivery on Grubhub right now and deliver shrimp to his house. Like,
I think we can make very great content out of it, and I'm shocked that like I assume we've been pitching it, but it's just not been greenlit yet. Of Mike tries food.
I got an idea for a show, which is calling My First, and it's him sitting in a white room with a table in front of him, and it's like my first time eating shrimp, and it's just
That'd be great.
four different ways of cooking shrimp, you know.
And we can get Andy in there too, because Andy hasn't had mac and cheese.
Mac
right?
and cheese.
Which one of them hasn't had an egg?
That's Mike as well.
This is Mike?
No. Andy's allergic to eggs, so he hates them. Mike has never had an egg because he's scared of them. We should keep going with housekeeping. That was my bad, guys.
He's just a fascinating human being. Go listen to the Kind of Funny podcast. I'm excited to listen to this Kind of Funny podcast. YouTube.com is kind of funny. And then also our God of War re-review episode of PS I Love You XOXO is up right now on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and on podcast services around the globe. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Fargo Brady. Today we're brought to you by Shopify and MeUndies, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 5 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Starting with our number 1. The police have arrested a 17-year-old reportedly linked to the Rockstar security breach. This comes from Jordan Middler at Video Games Chronicle. UK police have arrested a 17-year-old in Oxfordshire on suspicion of hacking, and it's being claimed that it's in relation to the recent GTA 6 hack. Citing a source said to be familiar with the matter, journalist Matthew Keys claimed the arrest over the recent Rockstar hack, and possibly an Uber hack too, was conducted in concert with an investigation conducted by the FBI. Quote, police expected to give more details on arrest of 17-year-old Rockstar Games hacker later today. Possible statement coming from the FBI later this morning/afternoon, he tweeted. The suspect was arrested on Thursday evening and is believed to be a member of the Lapsus hacking group. Earlier this week, transport tech giant Uber has said it was in contact with the FBI and U.S. Department of Justice regarding the culprit of a recent security breach, which is potentially the same hacker behind Rockstar's GTA 6 leak. And what will likely go down as one of the game industry's most high-profile data leaks ever, more than an hour of GTA 6 development footage was published on Sunday via an anonymous user posting on the GTA forums website. The anonymous user claimed they had obtained the leaked assets via an internal Slack channel, and that they were also behind a recent Uber data breach, which also had Slack at its center. Carli, have you been keeping up with this GTA 6 leak business?
It's wild.
Yeah, like what's been your take on it as it's been going on? Have you been partaking in the forbidden fruit of videos out there of GTA 6?
No, I haven't. It's whenever leak stuff comes on, I try and avoid it if I can. I don't think leaks are particularly good for the developers, and I want to try and respect that if I can.
Yeah, it's always one of those ones where, for me, there's different types of leaks. Like when the Black Panther EA game was leaked, right? It was more so just a report of, hey, this game exists, right? And that I'm eating up. That I'm like, you know what, man? Like, oh, let me talk about this a little bit. I'll allow it, right? When it's something like this that seems so malicious and so just like, I would say heartbreaking to the people working on the game, because this is a thing that they've been working on for a very long time. And also, you know, it's a leak that is not for the intent of information, right? In the way of, cool, I can understand the audience wanting to know that the Black Panther game exists. I can understand an audience wanting to know that the Last of Us remake exists. I think that serves people well with that information to some extent, right? I think you can argue it each way, but at the end of the day, I think there's less malicious intent there as opposed to this GTA 6 leak, which is, hey, I'm just a dude. I'm a hacker. I'm on Reddit. I'm just leaking all these videos of gameplay that people have been working on, and also I'm out here with the source code and I am auctioning it off, right? And I'm extorting Rockstar. It's like at that point, it's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, right? Like that is way beyond the realm of, oh, this is like part of this is a journalistic thing. This is part of information for the audience, and turns into something way worse, which makes this scenario really interesting in terms of the police seemingly, allegedly finding the hacker and then being a 17-year-old kid, right? Like this is one of those weird ones where I'm like, where do you go from here, right? Like, how do you deal with this? How do you deal in terms of like punishment for somebody who is a kid, right? Who like did something that they definitely shouldn't have, right? And extorted $1 billion company. It's that thing of like, yeah, this person should be punished for this, but also, oh man, this person might have ruined their life, right? And they're at the start of their life at this point.
Yeah, it's all very strange. I'm sort of not surprised that it's a 17-year-old because I feel like teenagers just like they don't really understand consequences a lot. So I can understand this person being like, "Oh, I'm going allegedly going to like I'm going to auction this off and then, letting the FBI find them if this is the person." Um but I think that this sort of relates to a larger thing I've been thinking about in terms of leaks because there's been so many recently. And a lot of them seem to just be for internet clout or, fame or, something that's not, like you said, journalistic or for
Hmm.
the information of people online is just for, I guess, vanity or
Yeah.
fame. I think it's extremely dangerous because as we've seen with the GTA leak now, like there's so much that got leaked and it puts the developers in a really bad place. They're definitely going to have to delay the game as they figure out security protocols going forward. It's going to really increase privacy, just like privacy concerns just across the whole industry. And I'm worried what this is gonna mean for journalists. I mean, like, I'm a journalist, so of course I'm thinking about this. And, how like, we already have, like, trouble getting access to a lot of things because security is generally so tight. And so I wonder now, like, with all these leaks, not just the GTA one, but, The Last of Us, the God of War, the even just, like, the most recent, like, Assassin's Creed stuff where they
Oh
found
my
out it
gosh,
was
yeah.
a YouTuber who found, like, a different account and was leaking NDA info, and I've seen leaks that are like, "Hey, this stuff's coming," and I'm just like, "I got that under embargo, and I'm gonna publish it next week." So, like, what it really is the point of posting that information online? Because it's like, you're gonna find out in 3 days anyway,
Yeah.
and so it's all just sort of a mess. Um, Not even including the fact that, like, this person is linked to a whole hacker group that also hacked, Uber. I know Uber said there weren't any user accounts, affected, or at least that's what they said in the last thing I read, but there's other, like I think they're also tied to maybe the NVIDIA leak that happened. I don't even
Yeah.
know now,
The
like,
hacking group, yeah, I believe is tied to that as well.
yeah, so it's just like this see it feels a little separate, but it is related to just the whole culture of leaks going on right now. And
Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's so messy, especially when you bring up the one we from earlier, right? Of hey, this YouTuber was getting access to press events, right? Because they were a size they had a sizable channel, and they were taking that and they're putting it on this alt account that was, hey, this is my account that I'm gonna get for clout. But like the idea of it blows my mind, right? Because at the end of the day, if that's not your face on there, if that's not even like, if that's not you, right? If this alt account that you're using is an anonymous leaking source, what clout are you even gaining from that,
Yeah.
right? Like, you're not making money off of it. You're not getting clout for yourself. You already have a successful YouTube channel. What are you doing? And now you just open yourself up to maybe legal action because you've been
Yeah.
exposed and you're leaking embargoed slash possibly NDA'd information, depending on what it is, right? Which opens you up to for retaliation, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, that kind of thing confuses me, and it also bums me out for the point that you're making of, well, that's going to ruin it for the rest of us, right? Like, how does Ubisoft respond, or how does any big AAA publisher respond, or publishers in general respond to? Well, we gave these people access, we trusted them, and now a small group or one person betrayed that. Cool. What are the precautions we're going to take next time to make sure that doesn't happen? And I think that then leads to things becoming difficult, even to this GTA thing, right? Uh, this hacker got this information from both Rockstar and Uber via hacking Slack. And so what does that do in terms of Rockstar and their security protocols where they're like, well, fuck, all right, guess we can't use Slack anymore to share files. Instead, we got to find ways to make this not only just one layer deep, we got to find 3 layers in which we
Mhm.
can figure out how to not allow this shit to leak again. All right,
Truly
cool.
months of figuring out, like, where the security holes are and trying to patch them. Like, it's gonna take up
100%.
so much time.
And that could even go as far as to change what work life is like for a lot of the workers, right? What if this does turn into, hey, you can't work from home anymore because we don't
Exactly.
believe in the security of the software that we have. You have to come into work, right? None of these assets leave this office. You know, that those are things that happen when it comes to trying to find ways to beefing up security and make sure that something as big as GTA 6 doesn't get out there and leak to the public. And so yeah, a lot of these things have a lot of big ramifications, and it's a bummer to see people treat leaks each and every way. Again, I think there's quite a bit of leaks that can be valuable, that can be good, especially when we're talking about things like work culture at studios, things like crunch culture, people coming out, what Jason Schreier does for Bloomberg, what plenty of reporters do in terms of, hey, this studio, the way they're treating the workers isn't great. Those are the kind of reports and those are the kind of leaks that like, oh hell yeah, like let's hear about that. Let's learn about that so we can make things better. And even things again like Black Panther or like Last is Part 1 and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like these, at least you're not leaking in people's entire people. At least you're not leaking source code, right? At least you're not leaking things that are going to ruin people's job. Like, yeah, it might be a bummer for marketing, and of course there's balance when it comes to that as well. But these kind of leaks, I think, are just they're bad, right? They're such a bummer the way they happen like this.
And I mean, like data miners, there's like a whole culture of that as well, where you just like dig into the source code of like live service games or things like that. And you just like, oh, this is what they're planning for the future. And like, I get that in a way. Like, I don't really read into that stuff, but I sort of get it. But this is a whole different level. This is footage and source code and hours worth. Like, these are assets. It's
Yeah,
like they basically leaked like, oh, this is where the game's at right now. And that's really dangerous for just a whole lot of people. And yeah, I'm concerned now, like, yeah, what this is gonna mean. But like in terms of just GTA 6, like people have been waiting for this game for a very long time. And so it also sort of feels, I don't know, vicious in that way because, GTA 5 came out in like what, 2013.
hmm,
And GTA 6 is still not out yet. And like we've known they've been working on it, but
yeah.
it,
And
it
we
feels
even
sort
got
of like, well, if
reports.
you're not gonna say anything, I'll say something.
Yeah. And I mean, we got the reports too of, hey, this is a game. GTA 6 is going to be in Vice City. And I think we also heard that it has a two protagonists, right? A male protagonist and a female protagonist. Like we've heard those things before. And again, it's that range of, all right, that like I think that package information in terms of leaking isn't harmful. Again, it can be a bummer for the people that might be working on it. They're like, oh, we wanted to keep this a surprise, or oh, we wanted to market this a certain way. But at the end of the day, I don't think that is anywhere near as harmful as the leak that just happened of the 90 videos leaked and all and source code and all this stuff and the extortion. Like that is just to be on another level. But we'll see one if this truly is the guy that they got, and then also what happens from here, right? How do you treat the situation? How do you treat this hacker who again is only 17? And that by itself is a whole bag of worms. Maybe he gets hired as a hacker for the government or something. Who
It does
knows?
happen, so we'll see.
That does happen, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they figure out a way to do that here.
Mhm.
But I digress. Let's hop in to story number 2. PlayStation's got some opinions on indies launching on PS Plus. This comes from Zarmena Khan at PlayStation Lifestyle. Sony Interactive Entertainment's beloved indie boss, Shuhei Yoshida, has weighed in on the PS Plus Day 1 games debate, reiterating the company's stance and arguing that the service should be used for lifecycle management rather than launching games. In other words, Shu too believes that video games should have traditional premium launches, and subscription services like PS Plus should be used to breathe new life into games whose sales are starting to slow down. Speaking to GamesIndustry.biz at GI Live London, Yoshida said that games like Stray and Rocket League, which went on to become hits after launching on PS Plus, are outliers. Sony believes in premium launches, especially for AAA games, with Yoshida likening PS Plus games to movies that launch in theaters first before moving on to pay-per-view, subscription services, etc. Quote, for Extra, our approach is we like to help publishers with lifecycle management, Yoshida said. Quote, I was managing first party, so I know that it's like in the movies. A movie comes out at the theater first, then goes to pay-per-view or a subscription service or free TV, every time generating new revenue and reaching out to a broader audience. In the same kind of way, we believe in the premium release of a title at launch and after maybe 6 months or 3 months or 3 years when the game's sales come down. Inclusion into this service, PS Plus Extra, can help introduce these games to a new, broader audience. audience, end quote. Yoshida went on to say that Sony actively encourages publishers to use PS Plus to manage their games' life cycles. Carli, where are you at with the idea of launching games on PS Plus versus launching games later on PS Plus, specifically indie games?
It's interesting because this is a huge topic of conversation across multiple industries right now. They mention, streaming and movies and TV and things like that. So there's a lot of questions as to like, okay, so is releasing a new thing on streaming worth it? And I feel like there's been a backlash to that. You can see that with like HBO Max, where they released all their new movies on the service during the pandemic, and now they're like, that was a mistake, which I disagree with. And I feel like that's sort of what they're trying to figure out here is, well, first of all, like, I think they're trying to separate themselves from Xbox Game Pass, which is going to be an obvious comparison for a lot of people. But I also think they're just trying to make sure that they can make, money on a lot of games. I feel like maybe it's possible, like, because Stray did so well that they were like, oh, we didn't really get as much money as we could have from Stray.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I understand this idea of like re-releasing games on a service because you see that with Steam sales, where a game comes out and it does fine, but then it's like at a nice discount during a Steam sale and it's on the front page and everything, and it gets all these new players. I think I read something once like ages ago, that like from an indie developer that said that like a lot of their sales came from Steam sales. So
Mm.
that's certainly a strategy. Absolutely. I'm sort of torn as to whether it's the right thing to do, maybe. I don't know, but I can see where they're coming from. And I don't really agree 100% with, every game just like getting released normally, but I do agree with, them using the service for re-releases or games that you might have missed the first time, or if they add more, PS2, PS3 games to the service. So yeah, I'm sort of torn. I just think that like corporations want to make money, and
Yep.
putting stuff on streaming doesn't help with that. So
I think there's a happy medium here. Like I'm not actually all the way mad at the way Shuhei's talking about it here, because he's talking about, he brings up Stray and Rocket League, which I think are examples of games that were able to flourish, that launched on the service. And Rocket League, I would argue that Rocket League flourished because it launched on the service. I think
yeah.
it's that difficult thing where you can't A/B test reality, right? Like we can't get the version of like our timeline where Rocket League didn't launch on PS Plus and instead costed full price or however much it costed when it came out. Like let's say if Rocket League was 20 bucks or something like that. I don't know what that universe looks like. It's hard for me to imagine that Rocket League wasn't successful anyway, but I think the question would have been, how quick would it have been to success, or like what would the numbers have been like compared to it launching on PS Plus. Stray is another example of, I think Stray would have done well regardless. Stray, a lot of people really, really dig that game, and it had a lot of support as far as content creators, as far as like I saw quite a few TikToks being made about it. I saw a lot of people talking about it on Twitter. Stray had a lot of conversation around it, but it had that conversation before it was even announced for PS Plus. It was announced for PS Plus, a couple of months before it actually came out for PS Plus. And before that, people were already excited about Stray. People were already hyped about Stray. I think Stray would have done fine regardless, but again, we don't know the reality of the version of Stray that didn't come out on PS Plus. Now, on the flip side, one game that I was hoping would launch on PS Plus that didn't was Rollerdrome. I was surprised when Rollerdrome was they have like the game trial thing for PS Plus, but they actually didn't have the full game on there. And I thought that was fascinating because Rollerdrome is a game that I'll describe as dope as fuck. Like I
Yeah.
fucking love Rollerdrome. And everybody who I know who's played Rollerdrome really enjoys Rollerdrome. But when we're talking about the conversation around Rollerdrome, I don't see as much conversation around it as I do for Stray and other games that did launch. And so I think there's something there, but I also think that Shu is right in terms of, yeah, we can use PS Plus to ignite more excitement around the thing. Like if, let's say, a couple months from now, Rollerdrome does come to PS Plus, that is going to bring a new audience in, right? And you can take that and apply it to pretty much any game, right? Right now, Deathloop is on PS Plus, and it's on Game Pass as well. And like a lot of the conversation around Deathloop is how it's coming to Xbox for the first time now. But I do think it being on Game Pass and it being on PS Plus ignites this new thing about it, as well as it having like new updates and content and stuff like that, right? I think that goes a long way in terms of reigniting conversation. And this isn't something that Shu mentions, but it's something I'll mention, right? Like pairing up the PS Plus launch, right? Like if your game has been out already, pairing that with a content drop, I think goes a long way. Like imagine the numbers we're seeing for Cyberpunk 2077 right now. If Cyberpunk 2077 came out with the Edge Runners update and that was also on PS Plus, those numbers would be insane in terms of the amount of people that would be in it right now. Like already those numbers were insane. They would be crazier though. So I would say there's something there in terms of what Shuhei is saying. Again, I don't know if I agree with it 100%. I do think that there's a case for everything. Fall Guys, I think, had such a great launch because it was PS Plus. Bugsnax, I think, had such a great launch because it was PS Plus. I don't think Bugsnax would have done as great if it wasn't. So I think those cases are there, but I do think the opposite is true as well in terms of games coming to it later and having that resurgence of excitement around it, new audiences coming in and all that.
And I think that this goes to a question about like, you have so many live service games right now because they have a long life cycle, and games like Stray or Roller Dome or Deathloop might not have that long life cycle because they're a solo campaign and you're done with it for the most part. So this is just another way to extend a game's life cycle, is re-upping it into the service. So I think in terms of that, that's a good idea as well.
1000%.
But yeah, I think it's just to say like outright that there'll never be any day one, or they're not going to do it super often, I think is fair. But I'm curious how long that, if they're going to stick to that, because things change all the time. And I feel like releasing Stray on the PS Plus and then Roller Dome not is sort of them maybe testing that and seeing what games can do well day one releases, and
that might honestly be the A/B test, right? That might be okay, let's do Stray, let's not do Roller Dome, and see how those compare in terms of the way that these games hit. I'm curious to see though how they move going forward, because even though I think she was making the argument, and you can make the argument that we don't need to launch, right? Like we can put it there later and it's gonna extend its life cycle. I wonder how that works the other way around in terms of how much something like Stray does for PS Plus. Because I do think PS Plus could use more of those. And even before the PS Plus revamp that we had in June, we saw quite a few games launching day one on PS Plus. Again, Fall Guys did it, Bugsnax did it, Destruction All Stars did it, Maquette did it, and not all these games hit, obviously, in the case of Destruction All Stars, but a lot of them did. And I think that creates this excitement around PS Plus as a service, right? Even if it's not just the games themselves. I do think you need those for people to continue to be excited about PS Plus. If PS Plus doesn't have anything that's coming out day one, I think you start to lose that ground in terms of the amount of positive conversation we have around PS Plus, specifically the essential tier and the extra tier. I think you'd want to keep that, and I think the way to keep that is by continuing doing a lot of day one stuff. But I don't know. We'll see.
Or you got to have
go.
something else there, like releasing a ton of stuff maybe like in the service, like the trial thing, or having older games like Switch Online expansion, like sort of thing or something. Or because
they got a lot of ground to make there. Because like, do you do PS Plus? Are you subscribed to?
Actually, we were subscribed before, but then we upped to the premium tier because of Stray, because it just made sense monetarily. But I'm hoping to play more of it. I just moved.
Do you check out the classic stuff like in the premium tier? Because they have the retro games as well, right? The PS1, PS2, PS3 stuff. Do you check out that library, or do you ever play those games?
Yeah. And we're gonna get to this later, but Sly Cooper is now in the service, so I'll probably check that out. So there's some options for sure, but there's also just too many games to play. So I don't know. We'll see.
For sure. I feel that. Let's hop into the next news story. But before we do, I want to let you know about patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where you can go and get the show ad free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. We've all heard of gut instinct, but Have you ever heard of butt instinct? It's when your butt tells you it wants new undies. Listen to your butt. Luckily, we work with MeUndies, makers of the most buttery, soft, and sustainable undies, bralettes, and socks that exist. You know that I have lived my life MeUndies head to toe for the majority of the last couple years. I'm just all in on MeUndies because they are absolutely the most comfortable clothes I've ever put on my body. Available in sizes extra small to 4XL. They have new colors and prints dropping weekly, so there's always something exciting to check out. You can try their free-to-join membership for free shipping on every order and exclusive perks, like an item shipped to your door every month, secret sales, and early access to their newest stuff. MeUndies has a great offer for you guys out there. For any first-time purchasers, you get 20% off plus free shipping and returns. To get 20% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/kindafunny. That's MeUndies.com/kindafunny. Shout out to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. Shopify powers our very own kindafunny.com/store, our merch store. And we love how Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed from down the street to around the globe. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere. Shopify unlocks the opportunity of your business to more people every day. Every 28 seconds, an entrepreneur like you makes their first sale on Shopify. Shopify powers millions of businesses from first sale to full scale. You can reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps. It's more than a store. Shopify grows with you. You can go to shopify.com/KFgames, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/KFgames right now. That's SHOPIFY.com/KFgames, all lowercase.
Story number 3, a white Xbox Series X has been spotted in a Logitech ad. This comes from Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. A new Logitech advert shows what appears to be a white version of Microsoft's Xbox Series X console. Outside of special editions, Xbox Series X has only been available in black since its November 2020 launch. But a white version of the console is on display in a newly released advert for Logitech's Astro A30 gaming headset. VGC has contacted Microsoft to ask if there's any plans for a white version of the Xbox Series X, or if the console featured in the Logitech video is a bespoke one created for the advert. Now, Kevin has pulled it up here, right? As you see, it's a shelf full of different pieces of hardware, right? You got the PSVR headset, you got the DualSense, you got the PS5, all looking great in white, and then you got the Xbox Series X in the top right corner sitting there, looking great in white.
Hey, Bless, do you find it interesting that there is no white and black switch, like the new Switch? Like, what's up with that? Why is the
what is up with that? Well,
you know?
I think that's because you can't use that with the A30 headset.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That would be really smart. That'd be really smart. Good job.
Yeah,
you got me.
Yeah.
You got me.
Hey, that's what I do. That's why I host the show.
You got me, guys.
Now we got Kevin. Can we get Video Games Chronicle here? Because is this not just a decal?
I think it's a decal, just to make it match all the other products in the shot.
Yeah.
I can tell you for a fact, him has a similar looking decal, and like you can't tell because it's small right now. But I think that if you look at the bottom of the Xbox, go pull up the video yourself, zoom in to the bottom of the Xbox, you see a little black line. I think that's where they just missed just a tiny bit. But I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I left that life.
What I'll say is I would love an Xbox Series X that's white, because this thing is looking real good. Like, if this is a decal, I'm about to go get a decal because I like the way it matches with the PS5 too. I didn't know that it looked that nice.
I've got an Xbox Series S in white, and it does look really nice next to the PS5.
Oh man, yeah, I might need to grab this because this is looking pretty cool. But also, it might also be looking pretty cool because in the ad they're like standing in this white space with lights, and like the person is wearing an all white outfit. Like this is a greatly composed video right here, right, in terms of color. Like they did a great job with this.
Logitech's always been great with like color and color matching, so that is unsurprising to me.
Do you think they're gonna make different colors of the Xbox Series X, or do you think at this point they just stick to the decal situation?
I talk about this all the time. Like, we need to go back to a time when there was like different colors for everything, like the Game Boy with like the translucent purple, or like like the bright orange or something. And we've been going away from that, and I think we need to bring that back. Like, I miss it.
Dude, I'm all about, if I can get a DualSense controller that is translucent purple,
Yes,
where I can see the cables inside and shit, Oh man, I'll love that
I'd buy
so
it
much.
immediately. I don't care if it costs like $500. I'd buy
Yeah.
it.
I would. Do you know what I would buy? I'll spend a lot of money for a Hey You Pikachu PS5. I know that makes no sense. I understand, but listen, I'm a man with nostalgia. All right, my cousin
Yeah.
had the Hey You Pikachu N64, and when I tell you, I was so jealous of him. I've never been
It was
so
nice.
jealous
I
of
remember
anybody in my
that.
life. Yeah, it was cool as hell, right?
How,
Like it
how
was.
much would you pay? How much would you pay? And would you be okay with just modified face plates that are really well done?
But they
Hmm.
would have to be. They would have to do like the
I'm
like.
talking about custom 3D printed ones, but like you're using the liquid 3D print, so like it's smooth as shit. How much do you think
But it's
you pay
not
for that?
just the plates though, right? Like the dope thing about the Hey You Pikachu N64 is that like the on button was a Pokeball. The reset button was like Pikachu's
No,
foot.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They've done all these touches to it. So I'm saying, how much do you think you're paying for that?
oh,
How much
Like
do you
if you
think
could
you're paying?
recreate it almost completely, I get it.
that's tough. $800, maybe 900.
I was gonna say 200, but that works too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, am I
No,
just buying the
I'm
plates?
talking about just the plates, just the plates.
Just the plates? Oh,
Or, I mean,
then
I guess you're like you send your console in, but you're not gonna have a console
I
for a
send
month.
for a month.
That's how it works. I'm sorry. You have a
Can I
backup
borrow somebody
console
else's
here.
console?
Yeah, you have a backup one here, but you're
Okay.
gonna have to play at home at work.
$300 to $400 I'd pay.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right, if anyone, you guys, they know his
Because
Twitter. Hit him
I
up.
can finally live my dream. I'm a man. If you give me the opportunity to live any of my dreams from childhood, I'm gonna take it. Like I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I'd pay $300 to $400 for a Hey You Pikachu PS5. I probably could just find a Hey You Pikachu N64 on eBay or some shit.
Yeah.
That's probably the better route to go. But hey, like I'm not gonna use it. I am gonna use my PS5. So
And you be the only person on the planet Earth with a PS5 Hey You Pikachu. So that in
do you
itself
understand
might
how
be
much of a
worth it.
conversation starter that would be? It's like,
Exactly.
wait, you have a Hey You Pikachu PS5? Yeah, what about it? They don't make Pokemon for PS5. And I'm like, yo, I got Temtem. You know?
I was
Like,
about
leave me
to
alone.
say Temtem.
I got Temtem.
Oh my
What
god.
the fuck?
Oh my god. Look at
Wait,
him.
Kevin, how'd you find this?
I mean, I literally just wrote "Hey You Pikachu PS5," and this is one of the first things that came up. Obviously, this is just a render someone put together, little Photoshop
the
work.
Ugliest
But,
dual
like-
sense controller I've ever seen in my life. But I
I
do
just can't
like how
believe you're not the
plates
first
look.
person to want this. That's what I'm most surprised by.
Yeah, somebody else on this planet was on the same wavelength, and they're like, "Man, I really miss the Hey You Pikachu N64. Let me make a PS5 with Hey You Pikachu." Good for them. Good for
Yeah.
us for having these weird ass brains that we have.
Good for the
Goddamn.
internet.
Yeah, internet stays undefeated.
Like the
let's talk-
internet's bad, but sometimes it gets it right. So
Yeah. Speaking of the internet being bad, story number 4, Apex Legends studio Respawn calls for an end to developer harassment. This is Jordan Middler at Video Games Chronicle. Apex Legends studio Respawn Entertainment has released a statement calling for an end to developer harassment. The studio said it had chosen to release the statement following an increase in harassment towards members of its development team. Quote, "We welcome community input. However, the line between constructive feedback and the harassment of our dev team cannot be crossed," it said. Quote, "We want to remind our players that we have a zero tolerance policy for threats and the harassment of our developers. We'll take appropriate action to ensure the health and safety of our team. We love hearing feedback and will continue to work alongside our community to foster a respectful, collaborative environment and uphold the competitive integrity of our game," end quote. Posted to Twitter, the statement has been widely commended by fellow developers, including Destiny Studio Bungie and Santa Monica Studio creative director Corey Barlog. If you're out there on the internet and you're out there harassing developers, stop being a piece of shit.
yeah,
Like, calm down. It's video games. You're better than this. And like
it's
the
just
worst
a
part of
video
this,
game.
though, it's just video games. The worst part of this is like I often rationalize it as, oh man, these children are out there acting a fool, and then you look and a lot of them are adults, and I'm like, oh man, we're better than this. Like, what are we doing out here?
Yeah, this most recent one, from what I can tell, stems back to a streamer, an adult streamer who was mad that, his account got locked over a weekend and nobody works on the weekends at Respawn. And there was some other stuff, but that's sort of the TLDR of it. And I was like, it's so just pathetic and sad. And like
Yeah.
Apex Legends has been dealing with a lot lately in terms of harassment because, there's the community has been, like they're not updating stuff fast enough. Like they're not updating the stuff we want them to update, like actual feedback. But yeah, it's been a little toxic over the past, 6 months, a year.
Yeah, and like the fact of the matter is, like, it's not even just Apex Legends. The story mentions how people from Destiny or people from Bungie and Cory Barlog also were like, commending the statement. Those are both parties that have made their own statements as well, right? Bungie's had the same thing of being like, "Yo, calm down, everybody. Like, it's not that serious." And Cory Barlog as well, with people harassing Sony Santa Monica about the God of War release date back in
Over
June.
release date. Can you imagine?
Like, it's wild out there. And yeah, it's a bummer. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand it. Be better is really all we can say. Be better. Now we got breaking news here.
Oh
This
no.
it says Chris Pratt Mario voice revealed. This popped in the doc out of nowhere. I gotta assume Greg Miller added this. And there's also a thing that says Kevin play the clip. Kevin, first of all, actually, I won't even ask questions. Just play the clip.
No.
Is the clip playing?
All right, yeah, no, it's about to go. It was just
Oh,
muted,
okay.
and I wanted to make sure we had audio for this.
Hey, where's the freaking gabagoo? You motherfucker. You motherfucker, huh?
He
We get the-
interrupted the Games Daily for this.
Who
Hey,
did
I'm
this? Is this Greg?
working here.
No.
Or like, did Greg send this to you? Who sent this?
Hey,
I saw Greg Miller typing in the doc.
Greg for sure
So
sent
was
this
Greg.
to us.
Why did he send this to us?
I think he thinks
As an
he's funny.
Italian, I'm offended.
Because it's the
Oh.
funniest video ever. That's why I did it. It's TGIF over here. Have some fun, everybody. Oh my God. Hi, Carly. It's Greg. How are you?
Hi, I'm Italian and I'm very offended.
You know
See,
what?
Greg, see what you did?
Yeah, then I will gracefully exit and I'll see you later. But I'm just
Wow.
saying, come on now. That's good.
I don't know. He
That's
said
good.
gabagool. That's all I needed. So
Yeah. After hanging out with Nick for so long, I'm definitely used to it. Yeah.
I love
Did you
that I love that you chose to put this after the story about dev harassment. You're like, you know
And
what,
you
man?
said, hey, be better. And I was like, hey, here's a palate cleanser, everybody. Here's something I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying this show and I'm enjoying this clip right now on the internet because it caught me and it's good.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I love you.
I
guys. I'll see
appreciate you.
later.
I'll see you after this for Family Feud. Let's round out the report. Story number 5. Detective Pikachu 2 is maybe nearing release. This comes from Ryan Dinsdale at IGN. The Nintendo Switch sequel to the 3DS's Detective Pikachu game is nearing release, according to a developer working on it. As reported by Nintendo Life, senior game programmer at developer Creatures Inc., Jonathan Murphy, mentions Detective Pikachu 2 on his LinkedIn page. Describing his current job position, Murphy said he, quote, worked on one unannounced project and one nearing release, Detective Pikachu 2, end quote. Though, just a small update, it's pretty much all we've heard about the game since it was first announced in 2019. The Pokemon Company confirmed at the time that it wouldn't just be a port or re-release of the original 3DS game, but its own fully fledged sequel. Carly, have you been keeping up with Detective Pikachu 2? And by keeping up, I mean, did you care about Detective Pikachu 2? Because there's nothing to keep up with.
yeah, I was gonna say like it was announced and then like that was it.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot it had been announced, to be honest, because it
I
was
did
so
too.
long ago. And then the pandemic happened, and now I don't remember when 2019 was. But I'm not surprised after how good Detective Pikachu the movie was. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I don't really believe it's near release because that can mean a lot of things. I'll believe
Yeah.
it when I see it, sort of how I feel.
That's my thing is, this is a little bit of a stretch just because you're taking this info from somebody's LinkedIn. And like, I understand how that can be. Okay, well, at least they mentioned it, right? Like, somebody's actively working on Detective Pikachu 2, and they consider it close to release, whatever they mean by close. Because close can
Yep.
mean a few months, close can mean a few years. Like, what does close mean to them, especially being listed on the LinkedIn thing, where that's not necessarily about, LinkedIn isn't for, here's info about our game, right? LinkedIn is, hey, if you want to hire me in the future, hire me. Like,
I
I'm
don't
working
know,
on this thing called
LinkedIn-
Detective Pikachu.
LinkedIn lately has become sort of that place for journalists to go and look at people's profiles and see like they're working on unannounced MMO at studio that's never done an MMO, and you're just
Yeah.
like, what?
See,
That's
stuff like
news.
that is like, okay, no, that's absolutely solid. And even like things like Sean Layden announcing that he's working at Tencent on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn is a good source for news, but when it is like this person's bullet point on their profile is that they're working on soon to be released Detective Pikachu 2, I'm like, that is so nebulous that I don't know if I can like, I don't know if I can stand by that as like, oh yeah, it's gonna come out soon.
Yeah. I'm glad
that
they're
said-
working on it, but that's
Yeah.
all I got.
Somebody over at Nintendo was at least thinking about Detective Pikachu 2.
Exactly.
And my favorite is like us always forgetting that Detective Pikachu 2 exists, because the reason why that is because they announced it in that fever dream of a showcase in 2019, the Pokemon showcase, where they also announced Pokemon Sleep. They also announced
Right.
like they announced a bunch of shit where I was like, what the they announced Pokemon shirts, with the shirts look dope. But like we've not heard about Pokemon Sleep either.
Yeah.
And I want to know about
That's the
Pokemon
joke
Sleep.
I actually keep repeating. Like, oh, we'll get Pokemon Sleep this time, but like Detective Pikachu 2, just right out of my brain.
Yeah, like nobody remembers Detective Pikachu 2. We all remember Pokemon Sleep, and we want to get an update on Pokemon Sleep. Because let me tell you, man,
I tried
can use
Pokemon
that.
Teeth or whatever that was after it announced it and
Oh,
released it.
yeah, the
brushing teeth.
toothbrush thing.
It was terrible. Like the drop rate was so low, and I was like, this is not worth it.
What a wild brand Pokemon is. But
I love it.
I'm
It-
still
it-
I'm still gonna
It
play the
does
new one when it comes
whatever
out.
it wants. Whatever it wants.
1000%. Carly, I can't wait for Detective Pikachu 2 to come out soon. But soon might just be so far away. If I want to know what's coming out to mom and grop shops today, where'd I look?
The official list of upcoming software across each and every platform, as listed by the Kind of Funny Games Daily Show host each and every weekday.
Do 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 do
Yeah.
Out today, we got DreamWorks Dragons Legends of the Nine Realms for PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Shovel Knight Dig for Switch, PC, and iOS. Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival is out today for Switch. Proteus is out today for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. League of Enthusiastic Losers is out today for Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Switch. And then Draw and Color Kawaii is out today for Switch. We got one new date for you. Caffeine Victoria's Legacy is coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch on September 30th. Deal of the day for you. PlayStation is celebrating Sly Cooper's 20th anniversary with some new merch. You can get a shirt. You can get a cool looking poster. They got some cool plushie toys for you. If you're a Sly Cooper fan out there, they got you. If you want to learn more about that, you should go over to the PlayStation blog. We're going to talk about Sly Cooper in the post show for this episode. For now, let's hop into kindoffunny.com/you're wrong, where you write in, let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong, so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe.
Did I get nothing wrong?
Anonymous Moose writes in and says, Chris Pratt's Mario voice is leaked early ahead of the initial trailer for NYCC, which I gotta assume is also Greg. Like, Greg was playing for, if we didn't get to it when it was on the dot, we'll get to it on kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. It's the fact that he wrote in as Anonymous Moose, which gets me.
Yeah.
What the
That's really
Look,
funny.
it's really important. I get it.
And then Jordan Deep said the same presentation that announced Detective Pikachu 2 also said that a port of the first game was also coming to Switch, which we've heard nothing about since. And then Anonymous Moose just wrote in again and says, I'm not Greg. So there you have it. Listen.
Now I think it's
Who
Greg.
could it be? Who could it be? It's obviously not Greg, because Anonymous Moose just said that it's not Greg.
It's Mareg Giller.
It's Greg Griller. It's God, I was gonna say game start Greggy, but I was like, no, that's a bad joke, and I couldn't think of a replacement one. So there you go. It's Friday. It's fine. It's Friday, you know. Next week's hosts for Kind of Funny Games Daily go like this. On Monday, you're getting Greg and Tim. On Tuesday, you're getting Greg and me. On Wednesday, you're getting me and Kelsey Lewin. On Thursday, you're getting me and Tim. Then on Friday, you're getting Tim and me. If you're watching this live on YouTube right now, after this, on Twitch is a Bink charity stream that is featuring me, Greg, Mike, and Tim playing Family Feud, and then maybe You Suck at Parking. If you want to catch that stream later, of course, you can subscribe to youtube.com/kindoffunnyplays. Carly, thank you so much for joining me. This has been an awesome episode.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Where can people find you if they want to follow up and follow more of your work?
The main place is Twitter at Velociraptor, which is spelled like Velociraptor with an extra C in it. That's my main social media. I am on Instagram, but yeah, just follow me on Twitter.
Hell yeah. People in chat are asking, are we doing Kind of Feud or Family Feud? We are playing Family Feud. We're playing the Xbox version of Family Feud, which is also a fantastic time. I don't know if y'all caught that when we played on stream about a month or so ago, but it's some prime content. And so look out for that. Again, go and follow Carly on socials. Kevin, did you have something?
No, I was just reminiscing in my mind about the last time we played Family Feud and the links thing, and just Roger not being able to get past. Like, it must be a website. Like, something's wrong. It's a website. They're talking about a website.
Carly, if I asked you, and there's only one answer to this,
Okay.
name
Don't do
something
this,
that
don't
has
do this.
links.
Is this name something that has links?
Yes. What will be
Like
your
a
answer?
website?
Not like a website is the wrong answer.
Oh,
Is
well,
there
he
anything
said
else
it,
that
so it
comes
was
to
in
mind?
my head.
But
Something that
remember,
has
yeah. So
like a
this game was.
chain?
Yes.
Oh,
I think
like
that,
Link.
Like,
Like-
No.
name in Family Feud
Wait,
scenario.
she said a chain.
Oh, did
I
you say
think that's, yeah, she said a chain.
That's the right answer. That's the right
Okay.
answer. That's the
Yeah.
answer that I was waiting for Raj McCordy, my Family Feud
Stop.
teammate, to make. And he kept saying other things. At one point, somebody said golf. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here, guys?
Yep, I got mad at that too. Come on,
God damn.
I'd fence maybe, you know, like that's fine, right?
Yeah. I think
That's why
Joey
Family
might have
Feud is
said
the best
jewelry.
game ever made.
Oh, God, I love Family Feud. I also love Kind of Feudy, which you can catch as the Gamescast post show on patreon.com. So that's Kind of Funny Games. For now, though, this has been Kind of Funny Games Daily, each and every weekday live right here on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. We have a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/Kind of Funny Games. So stick around for that. Otherwise, until next time, Game Daily.